No comments from the public will be entertained during board discussion and should be held for the public comment section of the agenda. Board members are not permitted to respond to public comment, and public comments are limited to 3 minutes. With that, I will proceed with the roll call. Mitch Halali,
Here.
April Davidson,
Present.
Sarah Houston,
Present.
Leslie Pertz is not present. Miriam Andrade Cuevas,
One moment, we're having some, this is the interpreter. Oh, is the mic on now? Can you hear me now? No?
We're gonna pause the roll call for a minute to fix a microphone issue. Thank you.
Hello,
Testing,
testing.
Thank you. We will now continue the roll call.
Diana McKittrick is not present. She may be joining via Zoom today. James Check,
Present.
Rowan O'Doherty,
Present.
Linda Sikora.
Present.
Yes. Okay, with that, we have quorum, and we will move on to the next agenda item, which is approval of the agenda. Okay, do we have a first?
Miriam, did you get?
The approval of the agenda is the next item.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Seconded. I move and then I second. This is Sarah. I say a second. Linda is moving and Sarah is seconding.
We have one auto. Well, the computer made an error, so we need to make a change. So do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve?
I second. Any discussion? All in favor? Do we have any opposed? Abstentions? None? Okay, the motion passes to approve the minutes. Next item is old business. We have none. Moving down to number 6, new business. The information, the partnership updates. I believe Annie Uransky is here from DOD DBHH. I'd like to welcome her.
All right. Hello. I'm just going till the camera is on me.
Yep, time out.
Just one moment.
Just gotta move the camera real quick. Sorry about that.
Can everyone see me signing? All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Annie Rasky. This is my name sign. A on the chin. Is the camera all right? Everyone can see me? Great. Thank you for inviting the Division on Deaf, Blind, and Hard of Hearing here. We're thrilled to let you know about our updates as far as being collaborative. And we had our advisory council as well. We invited Laura to present at our meeting, BCHS. So we want to share a few updates here. Yesterday, we had posted on our social media our newsletter with some of the community partnerships as well. We shared that with them as far as next steps of what we were involved in. The PEHI program. And what does that mean? That means promoting equity in healthcare interpreting. It's a 5-year grant. It's a program that is collaborating with Idaho University and Gallaudet University. So some background on that. There's 7 states that are collaborating on this regarding that 5-year grant. Michigan was chosen as one of those 7 states. So this year we're going to be focusing on recruitment and mentoring. So those who've already worked in the field as far as healthcare interpreting, and and also have at least 3 years of interpreting experience, and working with those 8 cohort participants who have already gone through some training. So on our social media page, we have that information, and that information is also available in our newsletter. So if you are interested in this, please reach out via email at uraskya@michigan.gov. That's uraskya@michigan.gov. Or you can call us on our video phone, 312-437-7035. So when we're talking about mentoring, there are specific criterias that you have to qualify to be able to get into the program, meaning that's a commitment of up to 2 months and 20 hours of working with those 8 cohort participants. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're excited about that. And then some more information regarding that project. We have to recruit the deaf community members who are willing to be filmed to share their experience regarding their stories with healthcare and medical situations. We want a variety and a diverse group of people to present and have videos. We're hoping to get 15 individuals. If you're interested, please keep your eyes peeled because we'll be letting you know regarding that as far as the events that are going on in the state with the deaf community. We want to reach out to them because we're going to do this video. And just so you all are aware, we won't be the ones who are editing it. The PEHI program will be doing that with those states that are part of this program, and that'll be a part of their curriculum. And next, I want to mention that next week, Friday, will be our next in-person Division Deaf, Blind, and Hard of Hearing Council meeting. That'll be Friday, February 23rd at 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. That's in Ann Arbor at the Washtenaw Community College. And our guest speaker, who we're excited to tell you about, is Dr. Michael McGee, and he is from the Michigan Medicine. He is the co-director of the Center on Disability Health and Wellness. He'll be speaking about the work that he's been doing regarding deaf patients and deaf health. So we're looking forward to having him come out to present regarding that. And we also invited Laura and BCHS to come out. So we know that they'll be there, and we're looking forward to both those presentations. And next, I wanted to mention, we are expanding, like we had mentioned before in October at the last meeting, we're expanding trainings that are specific to informing the community as far as what their rights are. We've had several organizations reach out saying that they want to schedule trainings in spring and fall regarding to how to navigate accommodations and what to do if say the receptionist at the front desk at a doctor's office isn't willing to provide a interpreter when you call for an appointment and let them know that you have a request. So what do you do in that situation? So we're going to do the do's and don'ts. And we've already connected with some of the aging population that have requested that type of population. And we're going to expand on that. We're looking forward to educating the community and connecting with those types of workshops and community members. So we'd also like to make a formal request as far as Laura BCHS, partnering on more community education workshops. So that means service providers providing education to them and also community members who are in the deaf, blind, and hard of hearing community to clarify the roles of what Laura BCHS, what they do regarding interpreters, and then what our role is as a division relating to Michigan Department of Civil Rights. And that'll help get that awareness out to the community about the programs that are available and create more collaborative effort. So we've started these conversations regarding these trainings, and I'll make sure that we keep you updated as far as that goes. If you have any recommendations on things that you think we should cover or a entity we feel like we should connect with, please reach out. We're happy to get that feedback. I also wanted to mention that we are shifting our priorities regarding to the aging Americans, the older Americans. It's interesting. Here, there's a fact. By the year 2035, it is predicted for the first time in history, we will have more older Americans that are over the age of 65, as opposed to younger, those who are under 18, which means there's a possible need to expand services for the aging population moving forward to make sure that our state and our local and city programs are ready to meet the needs of that community, especially the deaf, blind, and hard of hearing aging population. This work will be a push through the Deaf Senior Citizens of America, and we'll be working with a few other national organizations trying to expand awareness regarding the needs of what they call the Older Americans Reauthorization Act, which is the OAA. They want to see more expansion and inclusion as far as needs and experiences and preferences of deaf, blind, and hard of hearing adults, the aging Americans. Because of right now, apparently the OAA is very brief on what exactly the deaf, blind, and hard of hearing needs are under that federal act. So they're looking for ways to expand their awareness and getting community feedback on what should be considered under that federal plan. On Friday this week, my team and I will be presenting to the State Commission on Aging. We'll be providing a presentation regarding accessibility, what it could look like, and what barriers we have identified in the aging population and the services that they receive. And so that's another collaborative effort that we're excited about. And on that end, we're also expanding trainings to specific areas on aging. So if you're not familiar as far as the area on aging, it's typically a county-based service, and they get funding through collaborative efforts on the Commission of Aging, which is housed under the federal regulation as far as community living. So that relationship is built there. So we're trying to expand awareness about cultural competence, how to work with our community, what the experiences have been thus far, what areas they experienced. It's really an open-ended question. The point is to create that collaborative effort. So if you have any input regarding aging services, please feel free to reach out. And I think that's it. That's all the updates I have today. All right, I'm happy to answer any questions. Anyone have questions?
James? So do you? One moment. So you talked about different organizations that have these organizations ask you to come and present this workshop, this training for the community members. awareness? Do those organizations, like in the spring and the fall, does that mean that your schedule is full? You're overwhelmed? You don't have any more spots, or would you be willing? Is it a good balance? Do you need more? I'm just curious, what do you predict as far as scheduling those events? If you don't mind expounding on that.
Sure. That's an excellent question. I welcome those questions. We would love to schedule more, of course. We're still coordinating some future dates for the fall, so feel free. We can absolutely fill in the need if you need it. Any requests, we will process that. We've also gotten some interesting requests regarding accommodation training regarding the ADA and compliance. And we're going to do some cross training with some other units within our department. So we're going to collaborate on that. So feel free to reach out. We're open to suggestion and scheduling trainings. Great. Thank you.
Miriam?
This is Miriam speaking. Wondering about the 5-year grant. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that program? You mentioned recruitment, mentorship. Will that be focused on BEI 1 level interpreter to enter a BEI 2, prepare for testing? Just wanted to learn more about that.
This is Annie. Sure. So it's pretty fascinating, actually. We were ecstatic to be invited to this. But let me give you some insight here. That 5-year grant that is through RSA, Rehab Services Administration. Historically, the grants that come through there through RSA, they typically work with either research universities or interpreting training programs. However, the Idaho State University and the state of Idaho, their Commission on Deaf and Hard of Hearing, had made a decision to shift their focus. And doing that, they started partnering with the state agency of deaf and hard of hearing, and they're focusing on medical interpreting, healthcare interpreting, and rural areas. So they're shifting their focus on a state that typically has a broader rural area. And it is a diverse community relating to the diverse needs that they have. Kansas, Arizona, Virginia, North Carolina, and then Michigan. Oh, goodness, I can't remember the other 2 states. I'm sorry. I'll look that up. So what they're wanting to focus on is elevating the skill set of interpreters that might not have a lot of experience working in the medical field. It might be newer interpreters who are just getting into the field, or perhaps they haven't had an opportunity to work in certain settings like the hospital, or they haven't had enough mentorship. This is the opportunity to earn CEUs and professional development and connect with other medical interpreters and terminology, learning the terminology. So they're also developing their own curriculum that will be expanding on the basic knowledge regarding medical interpreting in order to elevate the skill set of interpreters that are working in the field. And they're trying to cultivate both the deaf interpreters and hearing interpreters, interpreters of color, and pushing that diversity piece to elevate that skill set. The year 1 of the cohort that we were engaged in with last year, we had to screen out interpreters who there's a big difference between an interpreter who already has medical and mental health endorsements in Michigan versus those who have never earned that type of skill set or worked on that skill set. They haven't honed that craft. They don't have the hours of mentorship or the ability to elevate their knowledge. So we're trying to promote their skill set. And as far as the assessment, that information is going to tell us what's missing from the curriculum and the training. So that first year, there were 8 cohorts here in Michigan, and they went through a 5-month online training curriculum and then different modules. They had to finish that program. And then once they finish that, which they have, they move on to the next year, which is this year. And they wanted to match those 8 with those mentors who have already worked in the field. The application requirements, I think, are at least 3 years of, as far as being a mentor, 3 years of interpreting, and then 500 hours of medical interpreting experience, or healthcare interpreting rather, in general. And there was you have to have an RID credentialing, CASLI, and or an NAD certification or a BEI 2 or 3. And then that they will be matched with those 8 as far as those cohorts go to provide mentorship and hands-on work. And that'll be in person. So they're working together at doctors' offices and hospitals. Of course, they have to go through the approval process. The PEHI program is working with Laura BCHS to handle that piece as far as approving that mentorship. What we're doing is facilitating the information and awareness regarding this program, that it exists and what opportunities are out there. And then we pass on names of people who might be interested in working with this Idaho State University. This current year's grant, as far as the mentorship goes, the state of Virginia and Michigan is going through this process. So that's where we are at in Virginia as well. And also, I would be more than happy to forward you the newsletter, the post that we had submitted yesterday. There's actually a link on that newsletter and that posting that will connect you directly to comprehensive information regarding that program, the grant process, and what is required and all that information. I'm happy to link you with that.
Yes, please.
Great. And thank you.
This is Mitch. I have a question for Annie. Okay. Will all 8, I mean, for Michigan, are they going to be retained for next year? The ones that are involved this year? It's going to remain the same. And plus, I mean, what are the expected results? I mean, how many years of training? And then what? Try to gain their medical endorsement, or what's the end result that's desired?
Sure. This is Annie signing again. That's an excellent question. So all 8 will have to agree to be matched with a mentor, and they'll be going through an additional 20 hours of one-on-one training with that mentor. Once that is finished, I believe year 3, which is the following year, the PEHIS is now having conversations with RSA regarding the potential of covering the cost for some of the cohort interpreters to potentially go to Texas to be able to take their medical interpreting test, the BEI medical interpreting exam, or the BEI 2 in Michigan. They're still in works with that as far as that conversation is happening for year 3 with RSA. And the cohort, once they're done with that 5-month training, they earn that professional studies CEUs, which is medical interpreting CEUs. And at that point, they would be able to theoretically be able to earn that medical endorsement if they qualify for the endorsement, because that would satisfy that requirement. So the end goal of this is to support interpreters who haven't gotten that hands-on time or that experience in order to elevate their skill set, and then starting that transition of working into that field if that's something that they seem that they're interested in. And then another thing I wanted to bring up is a PEHI program. I did something a little bit different. They also posted the curriculum that they are using for this cohort, these cohorts online. It's free, it's available to anyone, to the public, anyone can access it. And they wanted to provide that curriculum to the public for anyone to use. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, wait for the camera. I don't know if you know the type of this type of information, but is there any data, any statistics, you know, of people here in Michigan or in the other states, people who have the BEI, say level 1 certification, and that's what's preventing them from getting involved in medical interpreting? Or is it more people like our 8 cohort who have a BEI 2, they just don't have the experience yet? Do you have any information, you know, what about specific barriers? Is it language skills, or is it experience, exposure, or is it something else?
This is Annie signing. So what I can do is I can reach out to the PHI team and get that information, that feedback, because I'm required to do check-ins and That's part of the process. So I can collect that data for you. And I will also tap in to see if we can share information regarding the credentialing type and the experience of those 8 who are part of that cohort. I'm more than happy to bring that information to you.
That'd be great. Anyone else? Rowan, go ahead. Waiting for the camera. Okay, this is Rowan. So yeah, so I've been teaching ASL at the college level for quite a while, and I have noticed that many of my students, when they get certified or they pass their certification, what do? They leave the state of Michigan. And so I'm wondering, does that program require those 8 in that cohort to stay and work in Michigan? Is there anything, can they just take those skills and go wherever?
This is Annie Signing. That's a great question. I can look into that. I don't think there is a requirement that they have to stay in the state of Michigan after they're done with the program. I will look into it and I will ask PEHI regarding the other states that are engaged in this program, if they have any barriers there or if they have the same barriers. I'm glad you brought that up because that kind of leads me to something else that I think would be important for the board and Laura to take a look into. And I'm happy to collaborate and work with you on this piece. So at the last board meeting, there was discussion, which was critical as far as statistic and data relating to the number of interpreters here that are listed on the database. Another option that you could look into, another group here, perhaps you could request a presentation for them. One thing I think is a missing piece is the interpreter training programs. Like you had mentioned, Rowan, the ASL students get their credentials and you don't know if they're going to stay in the state of Michigan or they're going to leave. I think that's an important question for the ITP is to take a look at relating to what the long term of the COVID and pandemic, what the impact of that was as far as being virtual and teaching virtually versus in person. And if their students finished their program, did they sit for the test? Are they staying in the state of Michigan? That information, I think that would impact how we view the future of this profession. So I'm more than happy to collaborate with you on that. If you want contact information, we can get together and set up a conversation to get this rolling. I think that's an important piece that is missing. We need to bring that to light. And there's other states, quite a few other states that are part of, I'm a part of conversations with other state directors and talking about state level issues. And we're noticing a lot of states, as I mentioned before, are taking a look at the future of interpreting and that profession, what it looks like, but also focusing on the ITPs that might be closing down. They might not have enough students. They might not have enough deaf qualified staff who are willing to work in their programs. So how is that impacting the relationship we have here in Michigan with the deaf community? So how does that bleed through and that ripple effect? And I think that could be an opportunity to engage in that conversation. And I think you made a great point, Rowan, as far as ASL students. If they're passionate about becoming interpreters, what's their passion? And learning ASL is great, but what's next for them? What are they going to do with those skills? Are they motivated to become, say, engage in the deaf community and teaching, perhaps, whatever it is that is driving them to learn ASL? Is it enough to recruit them, the ASL students, to learn more about other opportunities that are available within the deaf community, but also elevating the deaf community members who might be driven to teach ASL. They might be motivated to do that. So there's a lot of opportunity here. I think we could have a pretty rich discussion about this, and I'm excited to collaborate on that.
Go ahead, Linda. Yeah, this is Linda speaking. So I have a question. We talk about interpreters. What about CDIs? Just don't have enough. We need more recruitment. I do know that, the CDI certification and the DI in the state of Michigan are two different things, but people with a DI who've grown up here, who know the community, who've been there, but there's no place for them. So it's a difference between them and CDIs. What are the positive and negatives of that? We need more.
This is Annie Signing. That's an important conversation to have for the board to have too, because I believe that's a big part of the interpreting rules. We often get requests regarding CDIs and how many we have in the state. Last time I checked in the database, I think our staff, can you just tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just checked, we had 10. Last I checked, we had 10. And one CDI is listed here in Michigan and there's the other 9 are listed out of state. So we have one CDI that is listed as living in Michigan. The other ones, we're not certain at what states they're from. That you have the option on the database to say that you don't have to disclose your address. So as far as I know, when I checked last, there was 10 that are registered in the state of Michigan. So I think that's a important conversation to have, because the PHI program specifically actually includes deaf interpreters as well, trying to elevate them. It's not just spotlighting at hearing interpreters, because there is a need for both the DI, CDI, DIs and CDIs in the medical field, and to increase their skill set. I think that's an excellent question. I think it's worth talking about.
This is camera. Okay, yes, and we will be including, a better pathway for the DI in our next proposed rules. So we're hoping that we can, start growing that pool of DIs here in the state, and then move on to CDIs. Linda?
Waiting for the camera. Okay. So who's going to create the program though?
What do you mean?
You're saying you're developing DIs, but as far as the rules,
So you mean the training? Yeah, ITPs, hopefully.
Hmm.
Hopefully.
there's not enough students. Hmm.
Right, so more recruitment, right? A new recruitment opportunity to expand that pool. Okay, James? This is James signing. So I have a question, if you don't mind just condensing. I mean, the deaf community, taking the feel of the deaf community and everyone else. I mean, the deaf community, what's their feeling right now when they look at interpreters as a whole? I mean, in your state, finger on the pulse and all that, if you can briefly. We get a thumbs up, sideways thumb, down thumb. I mean, you don't have to expand, but just your gut feel.
This is Annie signing. I will say this. Based upon information we've received from the community regarding like workshops, et cetera, the information we've received, this is my professional opinion. There's 3 things that we can work on. And I think it's important to talk about these things. Like I'd mentioned earlier, having those collaborative workshops, partnering with Laura to explain exactly what their role is and explaining what our division's role is. I think that's going to help us navigate the community and get an idea of what's needed, and getting us out into the community and having BCH come with us. So that way they're aware in different regions, not just one region, but all over the state, with interpreters relating to awareness regarding what Laura and BCH have to offer. A lot of individuals will ask me as far as what's going on with the interpreting rules, the interpreter rules. Is it going to be amended, or what's going on? And obviously, as far as speaking to that, I can't. I encourage them to come out to the meetings here that Laura BCH provide public comment and share your opinions. I think that's an important piece, because without the deaf community, interpreters wouldn't be here. So you have to have that symbolic relationship and make sure that we are nurturing that. And that's one of those things that we want to work on, as far as educating the community and creating more of a bridge and bridging those gaps as far as the interpreter community and the deaf community. Another thing I wanted to bring up was, I mentioned this at the last board meeting. This is a big issue, not necessarily with just only interpreters, but with service providers. Unfortunately, one of the long-term impacts that we are starting to see with COVID, the use of, the pressure to use video remote interpreting, VRI, as opposed to in-person interpreting services For example, I had a medical appointment, which would mean that we need to improve our community education as far as providers, service providers, what their obligations are. And Laura and BCH, we plan on having conversations about that as well. I think there's still some hesitancy as far as what's going to be happening next and how can we improve that as far as that anxiety of, are the interpreter rules changing? What's going on? I think there's room for improvement. We want to see more of a collaborative effort happening within the state, perhaps doing a joint session when you're ready to do that, when you're ready to propose those interpreter rules, hosting workshops, and coordinating education with service providers as well. All right. I hope that was brief enough for you, James.
Mrs. Mitch, any more questions for Annie? Annie, thank you so much. Okay, this is Mitch. Next. Camera, okay. Next, we have the department. So let's give our attention to them for their update. This is James, go ahead. That was quick, camera, nice. I wanted to put out there, we really appreciate for the first time, we got the slides for the meeting. I already read them. I know what to expect, which means I'm not like looking up, looking down. I know what's in the presentation so that I can pay attention and have some dialogue with the presenter. So thank you so much for that. Very nice.
This is Larry Horvath for the department. Not sure I'm supposed to go first, but since Heather stepped out, I think that's my cue to go first. So once again, thanks to the board for all your work. I'll just go over, I'm really going to skip the first slide and I'm going to start on introductions of staff. And I'll let Heather, when she steps back in, to talk a little bit about the first slide. As you guys know, the board and the program have been with us for a little over 2 years now, I think, Colleen. And I want to introduce additional staff that we're going to put towards this effort. And I'm going to have them come up and introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their role, and then I'll go into the rest of the presentation. First, I'm going to have Steve Gobo come up. Steve Gobo is our deputy director, and he is an attorney, so he helps us with legal guidance when we don't have to go to the AGs for legal guidance. But I'm going to have Steve just kind of introduce himself because he is the deputy director, and then I'll talk about the other stuff.
I hope I said hello. Good morning. It's the first meeting that I've been to, but I'm familiar with the program. It came over to the Bureau of Community and Health Systems from the Bureau of Professional Licensing when I was the deputy director in the Bureau. And then I had a little hiatus and went to a different bureau as the deputy director. As Larry had mentioned, as the deputy director, I also serve as the in-house legal advisor because the Attorney General's office is the only one that could render a formal opinion or advice and represent the department in certain matters. So reporting to me is the two divisions that we have. The division that oversees this program under Heather Hosey, who I think just snuck back in. And Jay Calwertz, who's the division director over adult foster care licensed facilities. And within Heather's division, it's the most diverse because it contains a program like this. It has the support functions, IT, all the support type of activities that you could imagine that goes on to run, a bureau in a smooth fashion so you could get things done. I apologize for wearing the mask to some extent, but I've had some health issues and I figured it's more prudent to be safe than sorry. I stand before you in a way that I'm not going to say that I know exactly what it's like to have the type of communication and other aspects that this program is concerned with. But I can tell you 2 years ago, I had a fright and I think I had some type of virus, not COVID at that point, where I lost my hearing for about a week in my right ear. And it was, it was just traumatizing is all I could say. So what you do, as a program, it benefits a lot of people out there in the state. And I'm just grateful to be a part of that within the Bureau. And what I'm going to do is introduce to you Jason Schieneman, who's an administrative law specialist that reports to me. He will be involved with this program once the enforcement actions begin.
I'm good. So as Steve mentioned, Steve Gobo's the deputy to me. He assists in the daily operations of the Bureau, also with the legal advice. Jason's another attorney. So first I should say that Steve was brief. Steve is, we usually with our attorneys are not brief. So we're very appreciative of that. Jason and I joke with our attorneys, but Jason's our other attorney. And why is, I wanted to bring these individuals up is because these are the individuals that you guys have been calling for is when are we going to do enforcement in this program? And so Jason's going to be the end of the enforcement part. Jason oversees our enforcement area where he will actually take our cases when we have a hearing. So I'm going to just let Jason briefly introduce himself and the role that he's currently doing, because we're still working out how we're going to do this for the interpreting program. So Jason.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jason Schieneman, and Larry, as Larry said, attorneys, we speak a lot. So I think I've heard briefly about 5 times now. So I will try to keep these comments short. But as I have around over 20 years of experience in enforcement of regulated entities and individuals. And Larry wanted me to just briefly speak about what, on the enforcement side, what are sort of the things we do. And enforcement is always a balance between the rights of the citizens and the rights of the regulated, of the entity or individual whom we're regulating. So along those lines, whenever the program sends over requests for enforcement, and the first step in the process is to review them for legal sufficiency to make sure we're complying with the law and any regulations that are passed. And, with that dialogue taking place, we then issue like notices of intent, because we have to give legal notice to individuals that we're intending to take disciplinary action against them. And we have to clearly explain what it is we think they did and why we think that might be a violation. With that, then we offer as sort of, an appeal process to protect their due process rights. We have compliance conferences that we offer where the regulated entity or individual has an opportunity to explain their side of the situation. And it allows us to pursue any settlement opportunities that the law may allow and so forth. And with any process like this, 2 sides are not always able to reach a resolution. So the law does allow for a formal administrative hearing if the department and the regulated entity still can't come to an agreement. And those formal administrative hearings are before, an administrative law judge, and that requires the state to put on proofs. So, it has the burden of proof to establish that violations occurred. And it gives the regulated individual yet one more opportunity to explain their side, to see if, the legal sufficiency of that matter was met. So that's sort of in a nutshell what we do on the enforcement side. I hope that was brief. All right, thank you.
So at the end of this, Larry, so at the end of the day, obviously Jason will go to hearing on our behalf, and we will wait for the administrative law judge, and it will be a revocation or a suspension of the certification. But Jason's important to our bureau, and he has a good track record. He's very successful in his cases, and so we're, he tells us when our cases are not strong. He's fair and balanced when he's working with the person that we're taking action against, because we do settlements when they can demonstrate, there's a reason for settlement. But we're appreciative of all of Jason's work, and now he's going to get into a new set of hearings, which is certified interpreters. But to get there, we need somebody to investigate. And so the next person I'm going to call up is Jim Wiggins, and his section actually investigates on behalf of the Bureau individuals, and we're adding to his portfolio qualified interpreters. Now, it will probably be around June when we really start to get this all moving, because we're going to have to train Jim's staff about this new program area that they're going to be investigating. We're going to have to look at our staff needs, how are we going to deal with communications, with the qualified interpreter, because we're going to talk to the complainant, and the complainant could be from the deaf community. So this is going to be a new area for Jim, but I wanted Jim to introduce himself.
Morning, everyone. My name is, as Larry said, and I'm there, Jim Wiggins. I'm the manager of it's now listed as Workforce Investigation Section, but we do the nurse aid registry and do all of the investigations into nurse aids. It's splitting off here in a couple of weeks into a new section, but I've been in this position for 8 years as the manager. Prior to that, I was an investigator for the Bureau of Professional Licensing for 21 years. So I did a lot of investigations into licensed health professionals, had cases on Dateline 2020. So it was an interesting job, but we, going forward here, after we make the split, we do about 1,200 investigations a year in a nurse aid for abuse, neglect, misappropriation, and rule violations. So I've got 4 investigators currently that have, again, quite an extensive experience in doing investigations from law enforcement, and all of them also worked in the Bureau of Professional Licensing. So we look forward to doing these investigations and learning new administrative rules and statutes, and we have quite an extensive staff that'll handle this. So if you got any questions for me?
Oh, James does.
I'll call you back. You're the camera.
Camera, am I? Okay. Yeah, this is James signing. So your team, the 4 people. Already busy, I assume, right? Okay. I'm just curious, one question, short question. How many cases do they each handle at the same time?
Throughout the year, we completed, I think last year, maybe 1,200 cases in a year, and there's 4 investigators. I also have 2 analysts that do some desk audit cases, so that's included in there. But on a given caseload, you're 30 to 40 investigations at a time. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. That is all.
So this is Larry. We're very pleased to add Jason to this team from the enforcement standpoint and taking those cases all the way to hearing. We're pleased to add Jim and his team. And as Jim said, he came from the Bureau of Professional Licensing with over 20 years in investigation experience. So we were able to steal him from that program. And then once we got Jim, he stole some other people from his former program. And so we really have highly qualified individuals that have been doing this. Most of them have law enforcement backgrounds, so they're good at asking questions, digging into the information. And we will be training them over time to start to pick up the qualified interpreter investigations. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And this is a little bit hard to see, but I really just kind of want to start to talk about how these investigations work and put it in a diagram for you guys. But really what we're looking is the first question is when an allegation comes into the department, is it within our jurisdiction? And if it's within our jurisdiction, and we're only going to focus today on the individual, which is the person offering interpreting services, we'll come back at the next board meeting to talk about the agency side of this, because we're still working. We want to talk with civil rights, make sure our jurisdiction and their jurisdiction, we all agree on those appointing agencies. But for the individual, what will happen is we'll look and say, does the allegation actually fall within our jurisdiction, which is the person offering interpreting services that require you to be qualified? And so the first test is yes, they're offering that services and they should be a qualified interpreter. The second question we're really going to ask then is, did they offer that service with first, were they in our registry? Were they a qualified interpreter? And if the answer is no, then we will start our investigation and Jim's team will do the investigation. And then what will happen is, were the allegations substantiated? If no, we're just going to close this out. We'll notify the individuals, we'll notify the person making the allegation that we could not substantiate. Now, when we say we cannot substantiate, all that means is we couldn't independently prove this happened. We're not saying that whatever your allegation is not true. We're just saying that we couldn't independently prove it. We will notify the person we're investigating, we'll notify the complainant that we couldn't substantiate and the case is closed. If it is substantiated, then it will move on to Jason and Jason will make an evaluation. Do we have legal grounds to actually take the enforcement action and what should the enforcement action be? And it could be, could be settled in a compliance conference. It could go to hearing. Once a final decision is issued, then either we take the remedy that the ALJ sides with us and we will revoke this certification. But in this case, what Jason's probably going to do here is, because the first scenario is somebody offering interpreting services without being in the registry, and we make the determination they should have been qualified and had a certification, we'll likely then refer our findings over to the Attorney General's office, because that would be a cease and desist kind of action where the Attorney General will take on our behalf. Now, if they did offer the service, and they're in our registry, then we go to the next bullet point and really is, okay, were they qualified? So yes, they have their certification, but were they qualified to offer the service in which they offered? Once again, we will do our investigation with Jim's team, then we'll do the enforcement. And this is where Jason's role really takes place, is where he will then, if we substantiate, he will then do the compliance conference and take it to hearing. So this is really kind of a simplified overview of what we're going to do in complaint investigations on the individuals. Any questions at this time?
I have a question. No, I don't have a question. I have a comment. Can you see the smile on my face right now? Oh, I'm so ecstatic. I'm so excited. I am so relieved that you guys are actually hearing us and seeing us and taking the action to do the work. I hope that interpreters who are watching on Zoom today start reaching out, start telling people the time is now. What did we say? June, July? What was it? June. It's time. And thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
This is Larry, just one follow-up. When I say June, that's really kind of making. what I wanted to reemphasize is people should not wait to file a complaint until June, because we will still take the complaints and
Right.
we're already looking at complaints now. But we will have a more robust in June, but do not stop. If you feel there's a violation, you should file a complaint now. And then we're going to meet with Annie and Civil Rights to talk about appointing authorities, and we'll come back and talk about how we're going to handle appointing authorities. That's a little bit more complicated.
Is amazing, beautiful. The work is being done. All right.
Well, we heard you and we're appreciative of you stressing to us, the only way this program works is that people understand that it's enforced. I do, if there's no other questions about that, I do want to move on to the administrative rules. First, I want to thank Mitch and Diana, a lot of work. I can't remember, Heather will probably tell me when I get back to the office, but I think I set out a goal of having these done in August or July. I can't remember what it was, but it is now February. It was a lot of work, and I appreciate all the effort that Diana and Mitch and our team put into the administrative rules. We had hoped to have them ready for you today, but they will be coming to you shortly. So that way, really, you'll have plenty of time to prepare for the next board meeting in reviewing these rules. So what you will receive is our draft version of the administrative rules after this meeting with kind of a one-page summary highlights. But let me go through a little bit of the highlights. Currently, our current rule set was adopted in 2014. It has 9 parts, 48 rules, and 40 pages. The proposed rule set will have 6 parts, 29 rules, and 21 pages so far. What we're trying to be is concise in this rule set. A couple of things that we will highlight is we are putting in a section to clearly spell out for the deaf community, what are your rights? A lot of the rule sets probably are not as applicable to them because it really goes to the qualified interpreter themselves with their CEUs and things like that. But we wanted to put in the beginning of the rule set right up front, what is the deaf community's right when it comes to VRI, when it comes to any of these services. So we added a rights portion to this. We've also added to recognize a DI in Michigan. We already have the CDI in Michigan, but as Annie spoke earlier, we have so far and few. So we've worked to put a DI opportunity in here. And we have worked to streamline the CEU process. And I think there's going to be a lot of other highlights, but I just wanted to point those highlights out. We still have to, share this with the Civil Rights to get their input, share this with the Department of Education to get their input, but we need to share it with you first before we share it with our sister agencies. So once we get it out to you guys, we'll get it out to our sister agencies for their input as well. And then after one meeting, because you guys are so fantastic and working quickly, 1 meeting, 2 meetings, 3 meetings, whatever you guys decide is going to take to get your input, into these rules. And then when we get NVEs and we get civil rights input, then we'll come to the board and say, are we ready to actually formally promulgate these and go to our town hall meetings to get the community's input from the qualified interpreters to the deaf community, hard of hearing, to any other stakeholder that's interested in it. And then we'll do this informal public hearing to make sure that we've captured everything. We've heard it from everybody, we've captured everything. And then we will do the formal public hearing where we'll put the rules out, we'll have the public hearing. And then hopefully it does take a little bit of time. Probably once we have the formal public hearing, it's about 6 months to make these rules in effect. So appreciate all the work in this, and we are getting close to the end stage of this to actually move these to be promulgated. We think it's a good rule set. It streamlines a lot. I think it's an easier read. Any questions on that topic? Always happy to bring good news. So this is, I think all of this is good news, but the governor's office, we put in a proposal to the governor's office to support this program. And if you don't know how government works, we're not the only one asking the governor to support a program. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands of requests every year. And we're very pleased to report that the governor has put this program in her 25 budget, fiscal year 25 budget. It's for 800,000 additional dollars to support the program. We've been using dollars that we've had for general purposes to support this program. So some of this will help us kind of use these dollars for the areas we've been supporting with other funds, but it's also going to give us a little bit of resource to do other things. And one of the things that we've heard from the board, from the qualified interpreters, is an online application. So some of these dollars are going to be earmarked to update our computer system for an online application. We'll figure that out either through the current system or a modification or using another system that we can use quickly. And then our long term is to rebuild the entire system to make it more user friendly, to be able to get data for the board, you know, instead of like Katrina and Heather and Colleen, you know, had to do all this manual counting. So long term, we'll be replacing the system in whole, but with this additional funding, we'll be looking for an online application. How do we do that? So we're very appreciative of the governor and that this made the cut. It's not a done deal yet. It's a proposed, but it speaks a lot to this program and the importance of this program. So we're pleased to announce that.
Question, This is Mitch. Or comment, excuse me. So again, just to reiterate what the vice chair said, thank you, amazing work. I mean, we see your action, we see the work that you're doing, we see the investment in our community, and so we want to formally thank you. And then also we want to thank the governor as well. And that proposal, we hope that the legislature will go ahead and pass that budget, approve it. That's our hope. So please say thank you to Bethany James and her work with the governor's office as well. Has had a huge impact. So thank you, Beth, and thank you.
Before I leave, just food for thought as we are now taking off our plate. Not completely, but the administrative rules are kind of moving along, and as we start to move, that frees our time up for other things. So food for thought in the future is we want and we are going to meet with Annie from Civil Rights, but we want to think about a project to do a census and a survey of the qualified interpreter community as well as the deaf community. And so we're thinking about doing this if we can find the money this year. And what we would do is bring in a vendor to help us and the board and our partners, our state agencies like Civil Rights, to design, you know, first of all, what is our objective with this? What are the questions we're going to ask? So phase one would be developing the tool. And then phase two would actually be doing the surveys to collect information to say, what are the needs of our deaf and hard of hearing community post-COVID? Because probably the world has changed dramatically. And, you know, what are some of the barriers? And, so we will work with Civil Rights on that. And then what is our qualified interpreter community? Where are we? Where are we going to be in 25 years? And so when we bring this vendor in, we really want input from the board, input from the community. So we'll start to build some work groups and break these off probably into two work groups of, you know, how do we build that qualified interpreter tool? How do we build the deaf community hard of hearing tool? How do we promote it? What are the questions we're going to ask? So think about that. And then I don't see this as a one-time event, because I could see later we need to do a survey and a census in the education community. We need to do a survey and census in the provider community. So I see this as just one step forward in a multi-step process. The other thing that I would like the board to start thinking about as we work with our partners and civil rights is we need to go to education. How do we educate the provider community on this program and their requirements to comply with this program? How do we do education in the deaf and hard of hearing community of their rights and how to file complaints and just general rights in the state qualified interpreter program? And, you know, educating qualified interpreters on their responsibilities. So two things we want to do over the next year or two is this census and survey, but also we need to start getting out to the community and educating them about this program. So I would ask at coming to the next board meeting, be prepared to generate some ideas for us, give us some guidance on how you want to proceed on these two topics. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Heather unless there's any last questions for me.
Go ahead, Miriam.
This is Miriam speaking. I love where this conversation is going. Thank you for all the work. I am wondering about enforcement and are there any plans for audits to organizations that are required to provide language access and make sure that they're being compliant? Just wondering if that's something that we do, or wondering as well if maybe the Bureau, I know Annie mentioned earlier about getting the Bureau communicating out and sharing information, you know, to community members or our deaf, blind, hard of hearing community to know how do I file a complaint? What communications or marketing strategies are we thinking about to make sure that this information is available for community members? So I know that was a lot. That was like 3 questions in one, but I was taking notes and wanted to share those with you.
No, I appreciate that on the audits and language and how we're assessing that. I can tell you right now, I'll put that as a point because I've never thought about that, or we've never discussed that. So that's good. So that's why I love coming to these board meetings, because you guys always kind of prompt us for, well, yeah, you've done a nice job, but guess what? We got another topic to handle. So yes, we will look at that, but I really think what we're going to have to do, we really want your input. So we really would like for you guys, if you're interested in, is to have, hey, I'm going to volunteer to be on the education work group for the deaf and hard of hearing education part, or I'm going to be on the work group for on the qualified interpreter surveyor development. And so I think we have a lot of work groups coming up that I would like to see our board members kind of take the lead in.
This is Miriam again. I think it's great, you know, because enforcement, you know, it takes care of, okay, here are the issues, how do we address them? But I also think that's more of a reactive way. How do we become proactive and use that channel of educating systems and community members on what is available for them?
Yes. And I think, and 100% agree with you, you know, the model for the department is educate before we regulate. Now, I'm less sympathetic for the qualified interpreters because the certification is a privilege and not a right. They already know what they're doing. They know they have to live by these rules and laws. But when we come to the appointing authorities, I'm less worried about the qualified interpreters because I think they really understand the program for the most part. Where I really think the education needs to go is to the appointing authorities. We really need to reach out to them to make them understand what their responsibilities are, because sooner or later, that's where we're going to probably see a bulk of enforcement, either through civil rights or through us, depending on how all of this plays out. I'm hoping that we don't see a lot of enforcement with our qualified interpreters. I have a firm belief that probably the majority are abiding by the rules. Those that are not abiding by the rules, we will start to address that. And those that are operating without a certification, we will address those. But I think for the most part, I think the majority of our interpreters probably, it's like most of our rules are, it's 90% of the people comply, 10% don't. But now we are strengthening this program to make sure that 10% understand that there are consequences to not following this. Appointing authorities, we got a lot more education to do. Thank you, guys, and thank you for your time.
And thank you. Before we start, can we take just a little break, a 10-minute
Sure.
break?
Yeah.
Everybody good with that 10-minute break?
Please, yes.
All right, we'll adjourn for 10 minutes.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for coming. This is Heather speaking. We wanted to go over a couple highlights and happenings that we've been working on. So I'll start with that. So the first thing I wanted to mention that we've been getting involved in is the deaf and hard of hearing services in Grand Rapids. We participated with that and donated to the Signing Santa holiday event. So when we had our holiday event, we did like a toy drive. It was really great. They were able actually to come to our event and take some pictures, which you can see there. Our team is, we took a picture of some of the donations that we collected from the Bureau. So it was great to be involved in. They had a great turnout and were actually able to donate to some other agencies in the area and organizations because they had some leftover gifts. So it was a great event to be part of. We are, as Annie mentioned, we're planning on attending the MDCR Advisory Council for the Division of Deaf, Blind, and Hard of Hearing. That's February 23rd, coming up next week. So we'll be there to give an update, probably very similar to what we talk about today, but and answering questions, of course. So we'll be doing that soon. And then also, I just wanted to mention, I know Miriam, you had asked about, our engage. I think it was you anyway. Somebody asking about engaging in with the agencies on, how can we hold them accountable? So I did want to mention and circle back to that. I know Larry said, yeah, we want to educate before we regulate, but we have spoke with Michigan Hospitals Association, and James and Linda were actually able to come to that and kind of give some perspective. And so we've had some conversations already, but we do intend to have more conversations and educating and just kind of getting out there to the agencies. I also work with long-term care associations. So there's 3 main long-term care associations that we work with that when we give updates, we do mention interpreting services. So we're slowly getting there, but I did want to circle back to that as things that we're doing in the community. And then lastly, we have collaborated with the other BEI states on best practices for testing, struggles they're having. We talked about, failure rates and what's going on with that. And they're seeing similar concerns as we are as well. So we are trying to kind of brainstorm with other states to say, here's what, we're seeing, this is what they're seeing, and talk about, is there anything we can do to support those taking BEI and helping to get some higher pass rates? So those conversations are in the process. All right, next slide, please, Colleen. So please remember, this is the beginning of the fiscal year when you look at this slide. So they looked a little different. We know we want to be transparent, though. It's really important to us to be transparent and let you know what's going on. So these slides may look a little dismal with pass rates, but so the TEP test results, and remember, this is from October through January. So just one quarter, we saw a 40% pass rate for that. BEI basic, we've had 33%. And then the advanced and masters, we haven't had anybody pass yet. We've had 9 people take it, but nobody passed yet. So one of the things I'd like to look at with the And I don't know if we can get this information, but something that we've talked about as a team is how can we find out, is this their first time taking it? Is it their second time? You know, when are we seeing people pass? Is there a, trend we're seeing? And if they do pass, have they taken courses that are offered in the community, or are they working with others? How are they doing that? But I did want to mention with these pass rates that also in the administrative rules, we talk about mentorship programs. And so I think, we're hoping that this will help impact some of the pass rates so that somebody who maybe is a basic who wants to go on and get their advanced or master level, that they can maybe work with somebody and have a mentorship program with them, or get some experience that way. And maybe that'll help. I don't know, but we're open to ideas and thoughts. But I did want to just mention that that is something also to kind of take a look at in our administrative rules coming up, that we did, kind of cover that piece. All right, next slide, please, Colleen. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Katrina. The team has done a lot of work on our website. We have heard you guys as far as like, where can we find this information? How can we do this? And when we listen to interpreters as well, what their struggles are, their calls that we receive, what their confusions sometimes. So hopefully the updated website will be helpful in guiding people to find what they need. It's still a work in progress. Obviously, it's changing on a regular basis. But Katrina, I will turn it over to you.
Katrina speaking. Hi, everyone. So this first slide, you can see it's a quick screenshot of the current website. So the format of the page has been updated. And we'll give you a quick tour of it. Colleen will guide us through. So our IT team worked really hard on the request that we sent them, and several changes were made. The goal of this was just to make it a lot more user-friendly and find things easier, a way for people to navigate the website. So a quick summary, I guess, board information was posted, and board links and board meeting materials was all added. Applications and other documents were reorganized on the website to make it easier to find. And I guess another thing to point out was that we gave Moise like a standalone header before. It was just kind of a blip on the page. So we gave it a title so it'll stand out more prominently for people when they go looking. Go ahead and open up the page, Colleen. All right, so here's the new look. Starts off with a little overview paragraph, and then right below that is the board information. People can click that link and see all your names and your terms. And then we have the upcoming board meeting. That's today, and that's the Zoom link and agenda that everyone can find there. And then below that is the previous meetings recording, and that will be updated. And then there we have the Moise header there, so people are able to find the link to find interpreters. The renewal information is similar to what was published on the website before, same documents and language. Go ahead and scroll down. The new part is these drop downs that I think significantly impact the flow of the website and easier to find things. So the first tab is applications, anything that you might be submitting into the department. Applications are found there. Below that is testing. If you're taking a BEI, TEP, or performance, and some other EIPA information is also listed. Then we have other information that documents for the community. You might not be submitting these to us per se, but other information for the community to find that's related to our program. And then we have the Michigan statutes and rules that apply to us. And then the board information has been cleaned up. These are the listings of the meeting notices, and then the breakdown of each meeting date that BCHS has hosted of the board meetings, and then with their agenda, the YouTube recording links and the PowerPoints, and then the minutes are updated as we get those approved. And then last drop down is our contact information and our address and phone number. You can also sign up for the Gov delivery if you haven't. We send out notices through the Gov delivery, and you can select the qualified interpreter program. So that's about it. Big changes there. Thanks to our IT team. And I think it's a lot more user friendly. Hopefully you guys do too. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention too, thank you, Katrina, because I think that was a great quick overview. I know that was super fast, but we know we've got a lot to get to today. But the stuff at the top of the page that Katrina mentioned, we would be updating with the new links and the YouTube videos and all of that for these meetings. Just know it takes a little bit of time because we do have to have others look at those and make sure that, so it won't be up tomorrow for today's, but we do have to make sure that it, everything is compliant. And so it does take a little bit of time. So that was all I wanted to mention on that. And then there was a question that came in, and Colleen, there's nothing on our PowerPoint for this, so I'll just mention it. There was a question that came in regarding administrative rules being presented to the public, and when would they be available? We would like to have the board look at them first, obviously, provide some input or feedback if they have any. Larry mentioned, oh, everybody's just going to love it. We're going to have no feedback, but I told him I'm really going to get him some rose-colored glasses. But no, we welcome feedback. We do want your feedback. We appreciate it. So that question, as far as when is this going to be released to the public, it'll take a little bit of time to get out to the public. But right now, we'd like to get these administrative rules out first to the board. So just wanted to address that question that came in. Outside of that, I think we are at the end of the board or our bureau update, unless you guys have any questions for us.
Any questions? James?
Well, this is April.
Okay, April.
April, go ahead. Okay. It's kind of a comment/question. I know that Annie had mentioned this. Would we be able to invite ITP directors for the next meeting so that way we can gauge the number of the data for students and get that updated information in regards to ITPs in Michigan? Would we be able to have them come in and present basically a summary of their program and what their numbers look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something we can look at doing as long as they're available, but that's something we can look into. And you said to ask them about their program numbers. Was that what I want to make sure I get it right?
Yes, their student numbers. For instance, student numbers or perhaps pass fail rates. I can only speak for LCC since I do work there, but we do keep a log of pass and fail as far as those who have graduated when they take their certification, their exam. They have the choice not to tell us that they can opt in or not, but the ones who do report, we keep a log of it. So we're trying to figure out where our weaknesses are as a program. This will, with those metrics, it'll help us be able to create a more robust program. However, we've noticed since the pandemic, there's been a trend of the decreased number of students. And I believe that other ITPs are experiencing that. I can only speak for LCC though. So I was just curious as far as in general, their programs, what they're offering in their program, how many students they have, any more information that they might want to share. Perhaps it's a pass and fail. If those who have disclosed it, I think, okay, that information, I think it'd be great for us to collaborate.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Actually, I've mentioned before that we'd love to hear from you, April, sometime.
Awesome.
Anyways, just because that's something that I know that you're able to possibly provide at least an idea of what LCC's got going on. So that'd be great. Yeah, I'm
happy. As I had mentioned, I only represent one ITP.
Sure.
I would like to hear from other ITPs. Yes, I'm more than happy to present regarding LCC's program.
Excellent. That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda, go ahead.
This is Linda speaking. So say a student goes through the ITP, and then they take the test. Do you have, or do you, are there any deaf people that are engaged in this program and monitoring that? Or is it all hearing people who are gauging these programs and their efficacy?
Are you referring to in the ITP programs?
I'm speaking about sitting for the test. Well, hold on, let me clarify here. How am I trying to say
This is
this?
Mitch. Do you mean the people that are actually grading the tests and screening?
Raters.
Raters, okay. Yeah, in Michigan, we have none. Oh, wait. We send all of our tests to the state of Texas. And then Texas has raters. And my understanding is that it's diverse. There's deaf, there's hearing. So,
So is it rated 1 through 5?
well,
How does that work?
I think sidebar for us, we'll talk about the BEI. I can explain that. There are some specific systematic things that they do, words they catch, did they use this vocabulary? Is this an error? They document those. So yeah, it's
I'm quite curious how
comprehensive,
that
but
works.
I can discuss that with you offline.
I think that's a great question too, Linda. There's a lot that goes into grading those tests and rating them, like Mitch was saying. And I don't know if Texas would be willing to come. We can ask them to one of our board meetings to talk about the rating process.
This is Mitch. Waiting on the camera. Okay, there I am. So yeah, I do remember when the BEI first came here to the state of Michigan, and we did have some Texas folks come in. Lori Metcalf, I think that was who she was.
Yeah.
She was like lead person, who helped to get it up and running, that test. So she explained in detail how the test works, how it was developed, how they decide, to start when they sent the test out, they needed some change. They brought it back in house. They ran a pilot. So, and actually, how they scored it, how the scoring works. It's not one person who looks at it and says, yeah, they're good. There's a bunch of, there's a consensus amongst raters, meaning the three of us must agree that they got the right word, they got the vocabulary. I might say yes, they might say no. We look into that, we have that discussion, and then we have to have a consensus among the three of us. So it is not one rater who just, bangs through all these, yes, no, yes, no. It's a team. It's a team.
So multiple opinions.
Right. And it includes deaf and hearing people.
However, the Laura program, Laura, I believe that deaf people should be engaged in this as raters because everything goes out to Texas. So to me, it seems like they don't know Michigan because we have our signs too. That's different according to region. So I don't know. I'm just curious about that. If you don't live here, they don't live here. I don't live there.
Yeah, you're right. And, my understanding is, and again, with the scoring system, but understand, language is regional. So, it's not a requirement. They must use that sign for that word. There could be another one, but the discussion is, okay, yes, I've seen that sign before. I understand what that is. That makes sense. If a new person applies and they sit for the test and they sign something like new that the raters have never seen before, they go in and they have discussions on that. And then they could agree to add that to the list of acceptable terms or signs for those English terms. So, other people, especially like Diana's watching on Zoom. So I'll say this for Diana's benefit. I think she will probably criticize me later. But I think she would like to have Michigan Raiders as well.
I feel the same way.
And we did in the past. There's budget, there's staff issues. So if we see the number of tests to justify the investment, then maybe we can have Raiders again. Maybe we work.
Thank you.
Point, there, we did, like Mitch said, we did have some raters in the past. When we first took over this program, we did ask also for a company to look at rating with us. That was through the state of Michigan, and there just wasn't enough funding for them. They wanted higher rates than we were able to offer. Maybe that's something we can look at again in the future. But we have explored that option as well. So just wanted to mention that. Oh, and there are just one more, I'm so sorry, one more quick thing. I think it was our October meeting that we compared Texas pass rates to our pass rates, and they were pretty similar. So I'm not sure if that's our, I don't know what to call it, the issue.
That is not fair.
Sure.
I mean, people who fail, they don't fail the BEI because they didn't use Michigan science, I guess is what I'm saying. So aside from Store, aside from Brown, you know, that are regional to Michigan, that's not the reason why they failed the test, trust me. April, go ahead.
I have a question.
You bring up some good points, Linda, that we need the deaf perspective as far as LAR BCHS. I'm not talking about the rater piece of that. I know you had previously mentioned there's 2 positions that you're going to be hiring for. I know that Katrina filled one, but there's another one that was available, and I would like to see a deaf person there. I remember I had spoken with Larry about that, or actually he spoke about that at a meeting. He had mentioned that they were trying to engage with the deaf community in order to have that position filled. So I'm curious, is that still happening? Is that job still posted, or has that been filled?
Colleen, do you think that the 2 positions was when we first hired Heather and then Katrina was the second? Yeah, okay. And
So
when we
no.
did post, so no, there's not another one right now.
Mhm.
We've talked about getting a student. We've not to date had a deaf individual apply that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
James. This is James signing. So first of all, thank you. Website, great. Awesome. I've already been looking at it like many, many times before. Ugh, hated looking at it, never looked at it. Now I'm looking at it. So great job there. Then I want to thank you too. You know, we haven't thanked you, but you know, posting the slides. So, you know, yes, we want to see the slides. Boom, there's the slide. So thank you. Appreciate that. I'm curious, I have 2 questions. The first one is, are you including other BEI? You already did meet with some other states that proctored the BEI test. How many?
I believe it was 5. Hold on, Katrina's counting. 4
Okay,
other
it was
states
4.
and then us.
Okay. I thought there would be more. So, okay. All right. 4.
I don't think there's a lot of states that offer BEI. There's under 10, I believe, right, Colleen? Well,
This is Colleen speaking. So there's Texas, Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan. So there's 5. And Texas wasn't at this particular meeting. This was just the staff level. It wasn't the higher up level. So we met with 4, there was 4 of us.
I think they wanted to, the 4 states, we did not initiate the meeting, the 4 states that participated. We kind of got the sense that they wanted to talk without Texas at the table initially to have very candid conversations. I'm trying to be transparent and let you know kind of what's going on, but that's really, they wanted to have candid conversations about what their struggles were without stepping on toes, I think. And then bringing Texas into the conversation eventually is, you know, a possibility. But, you know, trying to brainstorm on how can we best serve our interpreter population or those candidates that are, you know, testing.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I just, you know, I don't know what I thought numbers were, 4, 5, 10, 20. I don't know. So, okay, very clear. Thank you. And then, so Larry mentioned that he wanted to, work together with some other issues. Or working groups. Is that something you guys would be doing, or is that something the board would be initiating? This is Mitch. We would be involved in setting up those groups. We'll have that discussion as a board, pick volunteers or who would like to address what issue on what group. And we would collaborate then with BCHS staff. Oh, so James raised his hand. James, you want to volunteer? Is that what you're doing?
Me too. This is Linda.
Yeah, this is James. Yep, super stoked to do that. But that means that, we'll put that under old business. I'm looking. We don't have any old business. We haven't had any old business. We need some old business. This is Mitch. To me, as we look at old business and we see nothing, I'm like super happy. That means we're getting stuff done. We're not leaving stuff. We're not leaving it there to linger.
This is James. I doubt that. I doubt that.
Okay, so this is James. Back to my other comment. Just throwing this out there. The Michigan pass-fail on the test and the Texas pass-fail, the percentages are almost equal. So little concern in the back of my mind that the applicants, how many applicants are applying to each, and that is not going to be similar. That is not going to be equal to, the populations are very different. So Texas, the population, even if you take that out of the way, how many applicants are applying? And it is not the same. I'm very concerned about the back of my mind, relating back to trying to get interpreters to come to ITP programs and get those people to go through the ITP. Some type of pipeline that we can get people to those programs. That is a big part that's missing. And not your responsibility. I'm not saying that. I'm just, putting out there all the numbers that you give us, make it painfully obvious, there's a problem.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you very much. This is Mitch. Any more questions and or comments? All right. Thank you very much, Heather. So is it time for public comment? Turn it back to BCHS staff. Heather, please.
We have one person in person to provide public comment. Christopher Hunter, you may head up to the podium.
One moment. Let me put my 3-minute timer on. All right. Trying to respect the board. Hello, everyone. Just briefly, I think the board's great, doing a wonderful job, lots of good discussion. Keep up that work. Do not stop. Doing great. It's important that our interpreters' rules are strong and not too difficult to follow. There's a lot of misunderstandings about the rules, as you know. So just a little bit of brief history. I think the rules now are in 42 years, I think. I came in 1980 from Chicago, moved to Michigan in 1980, and I learned that we had a Deaf Persons Interpreter Act. With Detroit, with Judge Pernick in Detroit, I remember working together, writing those rules. I passed a law in 1982 to include the QA at that time. Everything was in the law. We followed that. I worked with Myriad in that process. And then over the years, while the staff, our dream was that we had some strong rules with teeth, certification, licensure. We wanted that. And we worked to tweak those rules to get that. In 1997, We went to the legislature and it died, and then it died again, and then it died again. And so it was a bad time at that time. Inflation, bad economy. You guys remember, you were here, remember what happened. So in 2007, finally we got those passed, went in and sat with the legislature, had those discussions, added fees, sorry, but you know, those fees aren't great now. It's a low fee. That could change, but it was a good law. And many interpreters were afraid to move to Michigan because we were strict and we had laws. So that's great. That's good. We cleaned up some stuff. We cleaned house a little bit. We would get calls of complaints from people regarding interpreters. I remember going to a hospital, needing an interpreter, and the person came up and said, I am an interpreter, and they spelled it all. I-A-M-A-N-I-N-T. They didn't sign. So complaints started to come in, wanting qualified, certified interpreters in those situations. So I appreciate you, this program under Lara. It's perfect. That is a dream come true. So civil rights and Lara both, you know, I'll point them both out. Complaints about interpreters, I know sometimes those fall under civil rights, or they may, you know, Lara for, you know, code of ethics violations and things of that nature. So it's a good. I just wanted to say that, and thank you.
This is Heather. Are there any other individuals in person that want to provide public comment? With there being none, I will turn it over to Tammy Bagby to see if there are any public comment via Zoom.
This is Tammy. The first person that we have raising our hands is JJ Johnson. I am going to promote you to panelist, and then you will be able to turn on your camera.
Hello, hold on one second. We have some technical difficulties. Can we?
Enlarge her right now.
Can we move the, okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Jeanette Johnson, JJ. I reside in the Grand Rapids area. I have a few questions. I'm so glad that you got the $800,000 on the budget. I'm curious if some of that funding will be going to changing the complaint system so people can file through sign language. I know there's a lot of deaf people. They prefer ASL, that's their language. And right now, the complaint system as it stands is not accessible to deaf individuals. So I was wondering if BCHS, with that funding, will use that. Not only partnering with the Department of Education and MDCR. So there's students who are taking ASL classes. And I know Kent County has over 400 individuals who are taking ASL classes. There's a huge opportunity for students to get certified. So in exposing them to that in high school. So I'm curious as to what your plan is regarding that. And also the interpreter rules, the draft. I was a little taken back. So there will be a part of it about deaf interpreters there. I wasn't sure how that works. Are all the interpreter rules going to be done in sign language? Thank you.
Thank you. This is Tammy. The next person that we have is Diana. I am going to promote you to panelist, and you will be able to turn your camera on. Yep, I'm getting there in a minute. Hang on.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Hi.
You're good, Diana.
Hold on one moment. All right. Anyways, I know I only have a few minutes here. So I'd like to make one comment as far, for me, With the paradigm shift as far as that conversation and changing our mindset here as far as interpreters, and deaf people aren't the only ones who need interpreters. So when we're using our language, we often say the deaf person needs the interpreter, when in reality, it's the hearing person who also needs the interpreter. So we need to change our mindset on that. Both parties need the interpreter. It's not just about the deaf person needing the interpreter. Because the power, we think of the deaf person. We think of the deaf person. Well, we talk about power and language and how that affects how we do things. So if we talked about the interpreter being for both the hearing and deaf person, then it takes the onus off of the deaf person. I would also like to see the rules as far as having them in English and also having them in ASL at the same time. I would not appreciate it if the rules went out in English initially, and then eventually we get the rules out to the deaf community. We need to have them done at the same time. And make sure we have that conversation about that so people can come and give public comment regarding the drafted rules. My third point here is we need more deaf engagement. How often do deaf people get engaged in this type of work or this type of setting? Maybe we could set up a work group. I'd be thrilled to volunteer on that work group. I think I covered everything. What's my last thing? As far as deaf CDIs, we really need to push for that. That's job opportunities for deaf residents, and it provides more access for the deaf community. Perhaps ITPs could take a look at that. Maybe they should be taking a look at that. And maybe instead of having the requirement be a master's degree for a deaf person to teach, perhaps we could change that so that way deaf people have more access to educating, interpreting students. And I'm looking forward to working with the staff regarding the draft rules. I've been working with them and it's been fascinating, and that's all I have. And I will see you at the next meeting. I'll be there in person.
Thank you, Diana. This is Tammy. I am not seeing any comments posted in the Q&A box, and there are no additional hands raised at this time.
Okay, this is Mitch. I believe that all the public commenters are complete. Let's move on down to the next item, number 8, announcements. And I want to let the board know that the executive order for the November election, sorry, Freudian slip, sorry, the interpreter, interpreter error. I'm going to start over for them. I would like to let you know that our executive order, the one that established this board, requires to annually elect a chairperson. So at our next meeting, we will do that. We will vote for the chair and as also for the vice chair. Just I want to let the board know that that's coming. Linda.
You see me yet? Am I on camera yet? Okay. How does that work? Does that mean you say you, or we nominate a person, or do I say, or do you get to just say, I'm going to stay in this position? I made the decision.
Great question. So at that meeting, I cannot be chairperson anymore. So I mean, that day I will be gone as chairperson. We'll have no chair that day at that meeting. So then someone on this board will move and say, I think I'd like to nominate Linda to become the chairperson. And then someone will second that. And they will ask you if you accept that nomination. Linda says no
nope.
already. And then we'll go around. Okay, is there another person we'd like to nominate? Might be 2 people that would like to become chair. And so there'll be a vote amongst them too. This is Rowan. So only board members are making those nominations. No one outside the board, correct? Yes, it's an internal board election.
This is.
Am I
oh,
correct? I'm right, Colleen? Okay. Linda?
I feel like previously I thought you said both of you were happy to be doing another term. You're going to stay in your positions, correct? Chair and vice chair? You're taking another term. Why are you laughing? Why is everyone laughing? Did I miss something?
What I mean is the gov.
I'm
the
aware.
executive
I know what
order
you meant. I know
requires
what you
that.
meant. Yes.
I just want to make sure that people have an opportunity. So if somebody else wants to become the chair or the vice chair, or if people don't want me to be the chair or the vice chair, we don't want that person anymore, then first of all, there's a requirement by the executive order that we have a vote. And secondly, it's about opportunities for people. So I don't want people just to, I'm chair forever, I'm vice chair forever. Good? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other announcements? Mr. Check. This is James signing. So now, board members, I am going to be putting on a different hat as president of Myriad. So just to let everybody know, we are going to have a spring conference April 26th through the 28th. We just decided on Madonna University as the host. So now we're looking for people to apply to present. And so I am formally making that request to Laura, DCHS, DOD, DBHH, formally making that request. I'll be contacting you directly and asking you if you'll come and present at our conference. And also, any others, deaf, hearing, interpreters, lawyers, doctors, those who have experience working with deaf interpreters, kind of the whole gamut of just, we want it to be diverse. We want people to see the presentations. We want them to be multifaceted, different perspectives on different systems. We want to see law enforcement. If you're arrested, if the police comes to a school, is that education or is that something else? Is that a legal interpreter that's required? Waiting for the interpreter to catch me. So I'm putting that offer out there only in person, we're not going to have anything virtual, nothing on Zoom, nothing. It's going to be in person, in the flesh, a big group, a conference. So I wanted to put that out there. And at the same time, we'll have our business meeting for elections as well for the next board members. I believe there's 3 positions that'll be coming up that we'll need to vote on. So there's that. Take that hat off. Hey, I'm back on the board. How's everybody? All right, very good. Feels good to be back. So I wanted to ask, I know it's on the agenda. I've noticed with the agenda, the board typically, we can have time in the agenda. We can reserve that for some discussion. In this board, very often, we respond, we spend our time responding. I'm curious, Mr. Chair, because you're still the chair as of now, you're still leading, so I'm gonna take advantage of that. How do we do that? Can we reserve time in the agenda for us? It seems like all these meetings, we're discussing things, we don't have time, things go quickly, but I would like to have some time where we can sit and talk, where we're not doing that over text. Can we do that? Okay, we're not allowed to do that. All right, we can't. Mitch says, okay, now I know. We can't do that over text and those things, but lots of experience, lots of knowledge. We get together. It just seems for me, it's not like deaf time, right? So, we're not allowing for enough time. We're moving, we're keeping things short. I'd like to have some, what I would refer to as deaf time, where we can take our time to digest some of this stuff, identify some things, that we can make decisions on, so we can clarify that and put that information out. Those recommend, I mean, is it? I mean, do you know what I mean? And I'll be quiet, but I just want to make that comment. For BCHS, again, thank you for your hard work. I mean, applause to you. It's been great. Posting stuff on the website, developing stuff on the website. One thing we did ask for, I think way back, maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago, is that when you post an announcement when the next meeting is, we need that in sign language as well. I haven't seen that yet. We need that in sign language. That's an important part of it. And again, I know that Diana, myself, we want to be utilized. We want to sign. We want anybody is available for us to be videoed. So, I mean, not all of them maybe, but I know if you asked them individually, I'm sure we would be willing to be videoed so that can be put out at the same time. I am done. Rowan, meetings going forward. Oh, so does that mean we're going to announce on DST, Deaf Standard Time? Is that what we're doing? Provide lunch, because it's going to be a minute.
Apparently.
This is James. We could apply for a grant and see how that goes. But yeah, good idea. This is Mitch speaking. And it's fine. If anytime any board member, anybody here has an issue that they want to be discussed as a board at the board meeting, you can either send that to me directly, you can call me, you can text me, whatever. What the issue is, we can't discuss it. That was what James was alluding to earlier about, the Open Meetings Act. We can't discuss that outside the meeting. But if you're like, hey, I want to know about this, or I'd like to have the discussion about this, and we think it's important, then we can do that openly here at the board meeting, and we can add that to the agenda. Or they will tell me if I'm wrong. You don't have to send it to me. No, Mitch, we can send it right to Colleen or another staff member. Typically, before the meeting, before the agenda's out, they do have me review the agenda to see if it looks good. I say, yep, looks good. I maybe give a couple tweaks. We might need to switch a couple things in order. But if they ask me, if I see something new or they see something new, they'll say, just, James suggested we add this topic. That's fine. That's fine. We can do that. Okay. Okay. You understand that process? All right. Very good. Very good. Last announcement before we adjourn. Anyone? Do I see a motion to adjourn? This is Rowan. Motion to adjourn.
Linda, I second that.
All right. Very good. The meeting is adjourned at 12:28.